And in that 15th verse, he said, that which I hate, I do. And I was trying to explain that. And I quoted that verse. And I said, and here is Paul saying, and a man was interpreting for me. Now, I've preached all over the world. I've had every kind of interpreter that you can imagine. I've never had this happen. When I said, this is Paul, a saved man, he stopped in mid-sentence, looked at me, and said, that's wrong. And I'm thinking, the first thought I had, my God, I got it coming for them, now him. And he said it forcefully. That's wrong. That's not right. This was Paul before he was saved. And these men, now most of them understood English, but they still had an interpreter. They would look at him and look at me. And he said it, and for a second, it threw me. But I know the Lord was in it, because normally when you are taken by surprise, it's something like this. And believe me, I was taken by surprise. You are thrown off your game, so to speak. But the moment he said that, no, that's wrong. This is Paul before he was saved, before he could take a breath. I turned around and said, no, sir, brother, I am not wrong. I said, a sinner doesn't hate his sin. A sinner doesn't hate his sin. And when I said it, he stopped. He just stood there for a moment. And I could see it played out. You could see by the expression on his face the wheels of his mind turning. He had never heard that. He had been taught, as all of them been taught, that Romans 7, and I don't know how in the world anybody can interpret Romans 7 as Paul as a sinner. A sinner doesn't know anything about spiritual adultery. He knows a lot about the other kind of adultery. And it shocked me for a moment at how strong I came back at him. I mean, I didn't back up. I didn't mince words. I didn't hesitate. I turned around and I pointed that finger at him. I said, no, sir, I am not wrong. A sinner doesn't hate his sin. And he's standing there. And then I proceeded, just turned around, picked up where I'd left off. And I finished my sentence. He never interpreted. And I turned around and he's just standing there looking, thinking. And then all of a sudden, he looked at me and goes, I got it. I got it. He said, you're right. And I could tell that his whole lifetime of theology was being turned upside down. He said, I see that. I see that. And I'll never forget. He said, oh my God. Oh my God. And then he picked up, we turned service ended. Now most of them, and I love them, but they rejected what I had to say. And as I was walking out, he was walking out with me, and he was in it, he first said, please forgive me. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have done what I did. And I said, oh no, brother. I'm glad you did. Now you know the truth. And I remember him saying, how could I miss this? It's right there. I see it. I understand it. And he said, I get what you're saying. I can understand it. And I remember he grabbed me by the arm and tears came and he said, this is what he said, my God, Brother Donnie, we're killing our people. We're literally killing them. They don't know how to live for God. Sin is controlling them. And he said, they're falling all around us. And instead instead of loving them in grace and trying to teach them how to live right, we're kicking them out of the church. And the exact words he said, we're sending them to hell. We're sending them to hell. He said, oh my God. He was beside. He said, oh my God, how many men have come through this church that there was a touch of God on their life. There was an anointing on their life. But because they did not know how to live right, that bondage reared up and got dominion over them, and it made a mess. And not knowing what to do, we threw them out of the church and told them, don't ever darken the door of the church. My God, what's wrong with us? What's wrong with us? The church is notorious for either condoning sin or killing people that fail. Now, I know what I'm saying, that the number one problem facing the church is how to live right. I know what I'm saying is true because of all of the fads that the church is coming up with to try to address sin in the life of the believer and how to have victory over it. Now notice what I said. The army of the Philistines were arrayed against the armies of Israel. The church loves to get its armies together. They love to raise up an army. I'm talking about coming against sin. The church, we have an army of psychology. This is how we're going to defeat the Philistines. We're going to counsel you. We have an army of demonization. You got a demon, and you need that demon cast out of you. We got others. You got a generational curse. We got an army raised up under the banner of the generational curse. We've got an army in the church of those who say the cure for sin or the answer for victory over sin is to have a mentor. Accountability. And the list can go on and on. Let me tell you something. The church can raise all the armies they want to, but they're wasting their time. They're gathering an army to fight a battle that's already been fought and already been won by Jesus Christ at Calvary's cross 2,000 years ago. I got so much to say and so little time to say it. I can't spend much more time on this. I have to get to the heart of what, so let me jump ahead. When you read of how Goliath was defeated, that's a picture.